Hello, everybody. Here's what's coming up tonight on Now the weather outside. What a mess. Kind of sneaky slippery out there. We'll get you the latest conditions, talk about some power outages and when this thing is going to end.
Plus, something else we're looking into tonight. Should people be able to use food stamps to buy soda and candy? We're going to get into that.
And if you'd like to go to the Super Bowl, but you have to pay for it, well, you should have started saving a long time ago. We'll tell you why.
This is News Center Now.
Slipping and sliding all over our state. Today's wintry mix coated the roads in a fresh layer of ice and slush and yuck. Hello, everybody. I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. Yeah, to be honest, today's weather was less than ideal out there. A little gross with that sleet and everything else all mixed together. And the wind isn't helping anyone either. Central Maine Power reporting about 14,000 customers without power, and AmeriMaine registering about 500 outages.
All right, the weather is starting to turn from freezing rain to plain old rain, depending where exactly in the state you are. Some parts of the state, are kind of holding steady and has that icy stuff. Ryan Breton outside to find that freezing to rain line. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Lee, it's been a really messy day, and the freezing rain held on way longer than we expected. The temperature right near the ground just wouldn't budge. Cold air held right near the surface, so that rain fell and froze on almost everything for several hours today. Take a look at the graphics, and there's a picture that just came in from Auburn, and you can see that there's actually enough ice that coated this tree limb to fall down on a home there. And Barry, who sent me this picture on Twitter, says there was enough damage caused to his roof as a result of that tree limb that fell down. Took the radar all the way back to this morning, and you can see all of the freezing rain, and it really was centered over parts of western Maine. That's where the temperature stayed down all day long, and still we're only around 32, 33 degrees in most places. So the roads have improved, but it's still very icy, and there's still ice coating all of the trees in the areas that have seen the freezing rain. The one good piece of good news is that the steady rain is starting to move out. The rain has really stopped falling here in Westbrook. It's just some drizzle right now, but there is still some steady freezing rain as you head up 295 toward Lewis and Auburn and up toward Augusta on the Maine Turnpike. But it's plain rain in down East Maine, where the temperatures have warmed to near 50 degrees in Bar Harbor. That's the warm air that we thought may make it into the greater Portland area, but it just didn't happen today because the wind stayed out of the north and northwest, locking in the cold air right near the ground. So as we come back out live, you can see it's a real mess here. And the good news is the temperatures tonight won't drop too much. So tomorrow morning, we won't be dealing with too much of a mess. But the trees, the power lines coated in some ice, and there are several thousand power outages as a result of the ice we've seen through the day today. Jess will be back in a few minutes. She'll have more on the full forecast, and I'll see you in a little while as well to talk more about some of the freezing rain.
All
Guys?
right, Ryan, thanks so much. I actually saw a mom taking her kids to school today on a sled on the sidewalk.
Hey.
Just going along the ice.
When in Maine.
Exactly. All right, President Trump and Governor LePage often see eye to eye, but last week the Trump administration blocked the governor's latest attempt to ban the purchase of soda and candy with food stamps. The governor says he plans to revise and resubmit his request, citing a need to address Maine's high rate of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease.
So it's time to hear from you. Should Maine ban the purchase of sugary snacks or beverages for families who rely on food stamps? Go to pulse.newscentermaine.com to cast your vote, or just select the Pulse tab on our mobile app. Tonight we are talking to a registered dietitian for her take on the governor's push, and we really want to hear what you have to say.
I don't think there is really so much an obesity epidemic as there is an issue with people not having access to activity.
Registered dietitian Amy Grimm has nearly 2 decades of experience in the field of nutrition. She currently helps patients suffering from eating disorders.
I think that when we restrict certain foods, anybody, you, me, or anybody, it makes you want to have those foods even more.
She says for people who depend on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program,
They're just kind of in survival mode a lot of the time.
the battle is with getting enough exercise, not so much what they buy at the grocery store.
They don't have the time or the money. It's sort of a luxury to be able to be active in this day and age.
According to key findings from a 2016 Department of Agriculture study comparing food items purchased by SNAP households and non-SNAP households, less healthy food items were common purchases for both groups. Sweetened beverages, prepared desserts, and salty snacks were among the top 10 summary categories for both. Governor LePage has tried twice now to ban the purchase of soda and candy with food stamps. The request in 2015 stated 2 reasons. 1, an obesity-related health crisis driving up Medicaid and private health insurance costs. And 2, the governor's belief that welfare benefits should be spent only on essential items. In a radio address last week, the governor said their request isn't being denied for health reasons, but because the agency is being pressured by lobbyists and corporations.
The sugar lobby and the agricultural industry, which makes corn syrup, is against this. However, when we could no longer deny that smoking was causing suffering and early deaths for millions of people, the government finally stood up to big tobacco and did the right thing.
I asked on Twitter, would a ban of junk food for SNAP households support healthier decisions at the grocery store? Of the nearly 150 votes, 66% of you said yes, 34% said no.
And on our Pulse poll right now, 80% of you, or now 79, say no, and 21% say yes, that families should be allowed to purchase candy and soda using their food stamps. We'll continue that poll throughout the newscast, so make sure you go to pulse.newscentermaine.com or go to the Pulse tab on your app, and you can vote and be heard in what you have to say. Now, just today, the Maine Supreme Court ruled against the Department of Health and Human Services awarding food stamp privileges to a certain non-citizen. That individual did have the necessary paperwork to legally work in the United States, allowing him to apply for food assistance under current law. The Supreme Court said DHHS and lower courts applied a law that should have expired back in 2015, and this non-citizen should be allowed to collect benefits.
We had 3 injuries to the gunshot wounds to the head. One did not survive.
Those seriously wounded in this morning's school shooting were rushed to a Vanderbilt hospital. Today, a surgeon announced they couldn't save a 15-year-old boy, bringing the death toll to 2. 14 students were shot at the Kentucky high school early this morning. Police say the gunman will be charged with murder. A second grader delivered a sweet surprise to her local police department, and today the officers are returning the favor. That story later on, but first.
The last thing we want to do is to have her be afraid of the sport she so dearly loves.
Gymnastics is in the news lately, and not for any good reasons. We'll give you the insight of a local gymnast who competes on a national level, coming up on Now.
Convicted child molester Larry Nassar has to face each of his accusers in court and listen to how he destroyed part of their lives. The former doctor for USA Gymnastics could learn his fate as early as tomorrow. He pleaded guilty to 10 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct and faces 25 to 40 years in prison. He has already been sentenced to 60 years in prison on federal child pornography charges. For days now, his victims have delivered impact statements, and many of them also pointed fingers at USA Gymnastics and Michigan State University for covering up or ignoring reports of sexual assault. Now, USA Gymnastics is in the middle of one of the worst sexual abuse scandals in the history of sports. 3 members of the board resigned yesterday after mounting pressure from some of the biggest stars in the sport, several of whom are victims of Dr. Larry Nassar.
So here in Maine, there's a strong gymnastics community, and some compete on the national level. For at least one family, the current black cloud surrounding the sport will not put a damper on its dreams. Jasmine Colley has been taking part in gymnastics since she was just 2 years old. Didn't take long for her parents and coaches to realize she was good. Real good. But according to her mother, there were instant benefits that went beyond competition results.
It teaches her more in regards to confidence and focus and structuring herself and disciplining herself beyond what she can do physically.
What she can do physically is a lot. Jasmine is a level 9 gymnast in the USA Junior Olympics program. She has competed across the country and trained with the best of the best, including at Caroli Ranch, which used to be the official training center for the women's U.S. gymnastics national team. It's now a location embroiled in controversy.
But we hear things like that, and you listen, you hear what's going on. I'm proud of the people that have had to stand up and say their piece and get stronger from it. And I think to myself, okay, as a mom, I've asked her, when you were there, were you at the ranch, were you treated by anyone? Were you by yourself with anyone? Nope. Okay. As a mom, I feel much better.
Ames is aware that people may think twice before letting their child sign up for gymnastics, given the current climate. But as far as her experiences go, as serious as the charges against the national organization are, it's not a representation of everyone at that level.
Sure, there are people that knew something, but there's probably a lot of people that didn't because they were past that arm's length. And so I don't think it's rotten to the core. I think there's a lot of good and a lot of hungry gymnasts that are going to represent the United States going forward in any capacity that they're able. Maybe renew confidence in the name, because I think people realize it's not necessarily an entire organization. I think it's the few bad apples, and it's a matter of figuring that out and what that means.
There has been a national outcry against USA Gymnastics in the wake of this sex abuse scandal. AT&T has suspended its sponsorship of the program, joining Procter & Gamble, Hershey's, and Under Armour as other sponsors that have left the national governing body since December.
And yesterday, Aly Raisman posted a lengthy statement to her Twitter account saying the United States Olympic Committee should also be investigated for its role in the sex abuse scandal. She says they didn't offer support to victims and didn't say anything about the scandal until the gymnastics board members resigned yesterday.
All right, changing gears, how much would you pay to go to the Super Bowl?
I mean, the prices wouldn't be that high if people weren't spending the money.
We'll tell you exactly how much cash you would need if you want to go watch Tom Brady inevitably win his 6th Super Bowl ring.
And when will we see that sun again? Jess Conley has your full forecast after the break.
And don't forget, please, to vote in today's Pulse poll. Should families be allowed to purchase candy and soda with food stamps? Go to pulse.newscentermaine.com or open up the Pulse tab on our mobile apps.
It's a bucket list item for a lot of people, going to watch the Super Bowl live.
Yes, it is.
You've done it, right?
7 times. 7 times. Is that crazy? I've been able to go 7
That's
times.
awesome.
And I get paid to go.
That's
Well, I
awesome.
used to. Now, people have to pay to go, I guess. And luckily, the Patriots certainly giving us all kinds of opportunities to watch the team play. So, is this going to be your year to go check them out in person? Well, Chris Costa might be here to burst your bubble.
Sorry, guys.
Bubble burster.
I know. Well, watching the Patriots play in the Super Bowl is fun enough while you're sitting on your couch. But how much would you pay to watch from a seat in the stadium in Minnesota? Give us a comment on our Facebook live stream. I looked into how much it would cost to head to Minneapolis for Super Bowl weekend.
It's a vacation unlike any other, and it comes with a hefty price tag.
Oh, there's definitely a big cost, yes.
Travel agents like Andrew Layton of AAA say 2 round-trip plane tickets to Minneapolis from Portland can cost up to $2,000 for the weekend alone.
I mean, the prices wouldn't be that high if people weren't spending the money.
Hotels aren't cheap either. If you're lucky enough to find one in the greater Minneapolis area, it'll cost upwards of $700 a night.
I looked at a Days Inn yesterday. It was $800 a night. We checked it again today. It's up to $1,000 a night for a Days Inn. So that's not even the Ritz or anything too exciting.
Budget some money for getting around the city. The Metro Transit is a cheap option, and it's getting in the Super Bowl spirit, even though the Vikings aren't in it. Don't forget about food, too. 3 square meals can cost upwards of $60 a day if you include drinks. And of course, you can't leave without a souvenir or two.
We really haven't gotten many calls because I think one thing that New England fans have become accustomed to is going.
Not many Patriots fans in Maine are calling travel agents to make their way out, leaving ice and snow for, well, more of the same.
It's more than just a game that whole weekend. It's almost like a festival. So there's definitely a big enough following and people that are, big enough fans that are going to make the trip regardless of the weather.
All in all, the price to experience the Super Bowl weekend this year could cost more than $4,500. And that's without tickets to the game. The median ticket price today, according to VividSeats.com, $5,300 each.
I can't imagine personally spending that much money on something like this.
If the Patriots' track record is any indication, Super Bowl 52 may not be a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Now, there are some cost-saving measures, according to AAA. If you fly out of Boston, it can be a little bit cheaper, or flying into a nearby city to Minneapolis, like Madison, Wisconsin, or Chicago, that can significantly decrease the price of plane tickets. Or you can buy a variety of packages, but even a one-night stay with one ticket to the game can cost nearly $6,000 per person. And the price goes up from there the more amenities you add on. So
we've done lots of stories of people who go hoping to get tickets once they get there, and if people can be patient and actually wait until the game starts, even if you're willing to miss maybe a quarter of the first quarter, everybody who's got those tickets, they don't want to hang on to them. Right. So they'll sell them for anything at that point just to get some money back. It takes a lot of patience if you want to do that. But
sure.
$1,000 ticket's better than $5,000 ticket.
Right.
Very much so.
Right. Oh man. Well, this weather, Jess, just a slippery situation out there. If you're driving, walking, just gotta be careful.
Yeah, you definitely do. And keep being careful tonight. Cold air still sticking around for some of us, especially if you're away from the coast. Inland spots still seeing some freezing rain. The good news is it really is lightening up quite a bit, but you can still see some freezing rain into interior Maine, right along I-95 there. So just be careful for the rest of tonight, and then as we go through the overnight hours, though, things are really going to clear out. So let's go through the hour-by-hour forecast. By about 9 o'clock tonight, most of us have cleared out. Eastern Maine still seeing some plain rain, and temperatures along the down east coast very warm already. 50 degrees in Bar Harbor, and it'll stay fairly mild as we go through the next couple of hours, and then overnight tonight into tomorrow, down east coast will cool down with the rest of us. So waking up tomorrow morning, most of us starting in the upper 20s and lower 30s, so a little bit on the cool side, especially compared to some of the areas, again, down east tonight. As we go into tomorrow afternoon, not a lot going on, a mix of sun and clouds. The one thing that we'll see tomorrow that'll be a little bit different is the temperatures actually decreasing as we go throughout the day. So those temperatures continue to cool off as colder air works its way into the area. And then very cold Wednesday night into Thursday. Look at our temperatures. Our overnight lows down into the low to mid-teens. It's definitely going to be on the chilly side. And then Thursday, we're not warming up very much, only into the upper teens and lower 20s. The other issue for tonight and into tomorrow is going to be the winds. Right now, wind gusts in Bar Harbor up to around 33 miles an hour. Of course, not great if you already have ice on trees and branches. Could be causing some of those power outages. At last check on CMP's website, the outage map, almost 23,000 people without power now. Some pretty strong wind gusts. I don't think we'll quite make it into the 50s as far as the wind gusts go, but it will stay windy right into tomorrow morning, even into tomorrow afternoon, especially along the down east coast. Matter of fact, some wind advisories are in effect now for the mid-coast. Knox and Waldo County have wind advisories. That means you can see wind gusts up to about 50 miles an hour through the day tomorrow. Small craft advisory in place, seas 6 to 8 feet. Again, those winds could gust to at least 35 knots. Here's a look at your extended forecast. Much colder air on the way. Again, temperatures drop as we go throughout the day tomorrow. Very chilly for Thursday and Friday, so any water that's remaining on the ground tomorrow will definitely freeze overnight into Thursday. We'll be down to around 10 to 15 degrees overnight. Looks mild though as we get into the weekend. Saturday, temperatures in the low 40s at the coast, upper 30s farther inland. A few rain showers possible Sunday. And then it looks like maybe a little bit of a messy mix again Sunday into the day on Monday. So get ready for the cold air because it is on the way back for sure.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Right. I know.
Tons of good news.
There goes a little bit of sunshine. All right.
It's still January. It's still, still got a long ways to go.
Let's go spring.
Exactly. Just thanks.
Thanks.
So not always a good thing when the police just feel the need to drop by, but the police chief in Holden had a pretty good reason to go to a second grade classroom.
That's right. Tennyson Coleman shares how a small act of kindness can go a long way.
It's a moment as wholesome as they come.
Hi, Mrs. Pierce. Hi.
Chief Chris Greeley of the Holden Police Department came to the Brewer Community School as the bearer of gifts, bringing every kid in this classroom a teddy bear.
You're welcome. Basically around Christmas time, a little girl came up to me, a second grader, and said she had something for me. She saw me in uniform, saw the police car, and gave me a plate of homemade cookies.
That second grader is Leah Kelleher, and this visit from Greeley is a way to say thanks for that small act of kindness back in December.
The cookies were so yummy.
I was like, wow, I did not expecting. I was not even expecting that.
And it just so happens Mrs. Pierce's second grade class is taking part in the Great Kindness Challenge this week.
So we've been talking a lot about, even the smallest gestures can have the biggest effect on people.
Leah says she gave Chief Greeley cookies as a way to say thanks for the work police officers do.
Police come here so other people can be safe and not being mean and get hurt.
And this week, as she and her classmates try to go out of their way to be kind, they hope others will take their lead.
Just such a sincere gesture, it's such a sincere emotion.
These second graders have a message they want to say not just to Chief Greeley, but all the officers in their community.
Thank you for protecting our officers.
All right. Well, in Brewer for News Center, Maine, I'm Tennyson Coleman.
How sweet is that? And Chief Greeley says the teddy bears were donated by Go Games and Toy Store in Bangor, so no tax dollars were spent.
All right, let's see what's coming up at 5:30 with Cindy Williams. Hey, Cindy.
Hey, guys. A lot of drivers had to pull off the road today because they could not even begin to see through the icy rain building up on their windshields. And, of course, the condition of the roads didn't help matters either. We're going to have that story coming up. And a lot of athletes will be stepping onto the Olympic stage for the first time this year. Others are looking for a second chance and a shot at redemption. Those stories and more all coming up at 5:30. Back to you.
All right, Cindy, sounds good. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We all hate it when that surge pricing notification pops up on our rideshare app, and now imagine surge pricing at your favorite restaurant. Bloomberg recently reported that a popular London restaurant is charging more at peak hours, and eateries across the United States are taking notice. Many owners see this as a way to increase traffic during slower hours. We kind of already see this with early bird or lunch specials, but this way, prices could change a little bit more rapidly.
All right, and let's take a look at the results of today's Pulse poll. This many of you, let's see, 21% say yes, families should be allowed to purchase candy and soda using food stamps. At this time, 79% say no, and we are following your feedback on Facebook right now as we speak.
Yeah, a lot of great comments back and forth as to how you feel about it, whether it's yes or no, but also some just some good debate over the prices of foods. And there's a great point made that healthy foods and things that are really good for you are really, really expensive, and it's all the junk and the candy and the sugary stuff that's super affordable. And it's really kind of backwards if you look at it that way, because some of that food that you really need isn't attainable as a candy bar is. So.
Absolutely. So continue that discussion on our Facebook page. We love seeing your comments, and we'll try our best to respond to them as we can.
All right, we got to go. News Center 5:30 starts
right now.